Hey, you. Yes, you with the moist grass on your bare legs. This is a new year and a new podcast. I'm asking you to join me in some changes made just for you. I want listeners to join the new Facebook group for Aussie Lawn Stars, so you can give me feedback on existing episodes and content ideas for more episodes. But more importantly, it's a place you can ask questions. The simple questions may get answered by members in the group already, much like you would find in any community group. But the questions will fuel and feed future episodes. More importantly, if you ask a question in the group or on the YouTube comments section, you may get sucked into the dungeon where your question and you become a feature episode. In short, join Aussie Lawn Stars on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram to participate and engage with me directly and other listeners who want to help or be helped. Welcome to the dungeon. I've got Kyla Macdonald with me today. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me.
That's great. It's been a little while trying to chase you, but I've been looking at trying to get more women in business on the podcast. I've been watching my numbers and there has been around 3% of my interviews are with women. And it's like, no, I'm sure there's more than 3% of our industry is women. I need to make sure it's balanced.
Great to hear.
But yeah, we'll touch on some topics around what that's like for you today, but we want to start with the history of your business and what you were doing before you decided you wanted to run your own business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it started back in 2018, and I am a dental hygienist by trade. So I've been in the dental industry since I was 18, and
Yeah,
I'm now
wow.
53. So I got to that point in
Mm.
my late 40s. I just had enough of healthcare and really wanted to do something else. Had no idea. I had it down to 2 days doing dental hygiene, and
Yeah,
I was doing some working from home, doing online training for CRM for dental software, Practica. So I
wow.
was doing that as well. And then it just got to the point where I needed to drop the 2 days doing dental hygiene. So my husband actually suggested, you love mowing, you should just start up a mowing business. So I answered an ad on Facebook for a lady who was looking for someone to come and do her hedges
Yeah.
for $35 for an hour and a half work. And I had nothing else to do. Matt was working full time doing trail building, so I could afford
Wow.
to do that and not earn a lot of money using her equipment. And I loved it. So I always remember my very first client, and that was November 2018.
So 6 years ago, a bit more than 6 years ago,
Yep.
you would have been the same age as what I am now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. So you dropped a little nugget there. I didn't know that about Matt. So he was doing trail building.
Oh, yes. So he's a shipwright by trade. So he's a tradesman. And he was, he'd been doing trail building for quite some time. So he can work on excavators and whatnot,
Okay,
skid steers and all of that. So that work
nice.
was getting a bit much for him as well at that time because it was a lot of away work.
Yeah.
And he, just before COVID, so I can't even remember when COVID came in, but I guess it was 2020, was it, COVID?
Yeah, so it was called COVID-19, but it was the end of 19 when it started, and it was 2020 when it hit us.
Right. 2020 when it hit us. So he was giving up trail building and then he was starting a job in a bike shop because he loves
Nice.
mountain biking and windsurfing. And he
Yeah.
was mountain biking at the time, has since given that up and gone back to windsurfing. He's been a sailor all his life.
Yep.
So he was about to start a job in a bike shop, which he wasn't that fussed on because he's a hands-on technician type guy. He's not.
Probably not great pay either compared to his other work.
No. So COVID hit, so he lost that. I had been doing the mowing, and that's when he joined me in the business was during COVID just to help me out until he went back to a real job.
Wow. and
So that's
he's
that.
and he's gone back to a real job.
No, he's with me. Yeah, we've built it up. So it was fabulous. During COVID, it was
Yeah.
wonderful to work for us here in Queensland because we didn't have the severe lockdown restrictions that the other states had. So it meant Matt and I could still go out and work.
Yeah.
We weren't earning enough to survive at that time. It was pretty hard going.
Yeah.
It was tough, but yeah, we still at least could get outside. Other people couldn't get outside. We could get outside and mow.
Yeah. Now, I want to touch on something there briefly, and we'll keep telling your history, but you don't work full time, right? You are in business. I mean, obviously to make money. Everyone wants to make money,
We've got to
but
pay the mortgage. Yep.
lifestyle is pretty valuable to you.
Absolutely. It's our number one priority, really, for Matt and I. We're both in our 50s now. We don't have kids. We've got pugs. So we don't have university to pay for or anything like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And we have always valued lifestyle over everything else. So we choose to work half days, 5 days a week. And Matt will go sailing in the afternoon. He'll go windsurfing in the afternoon. So,
nice.
we love
I'm
it.
slightly envious.
I don't think I've worked full time for a very long time. Even back when I sort of first started dental hygiene, I think I've only ever worked 4 days a week. So I'm pretty.
I'm more envious of Matt getting out there windsurfing every
Oh,
afternoon.
yeah. I'm actually thinking of getting back into it myself because I used to windsurf many years ago with him, and we used to sail catamarans together, and then we got to windsurfing, and then we stopped the sailing and we got into mountain biking together. So we did that for a long time. But then Matt injured his shoulder, so we stopped mountain biking. He went back to windsurfing, and I got stuck on the couch. I don't know why. We've just been discussing it, and next season I'm going to get back into it, I think, because I don't have a hobby at the moment.
It's good to have a physical hobby that keeps you fit, and windsurfing certainly will push your limits.
Yeah, he's actually trying out the wing dinging now, where they hold on to the sail or the wing in the air and they have a board that has a foil. So he's been enjoying that. And then he also got what's called an e-foil, which is the foil board with the battery and the little prop. So when there's absolutely no breeze, we live in Noosa, so he can just go down Noosa River and blast around on that.
I reckon that would be so much fun. I've looked at a few of them and I'm like, I could probably make one of those for a fraction of the price of what it costs to buy them.
It's so expensive.
But
there's a one down here in Noosa, Flight, I think it's called, and it was $20,000.
Wow.
So super expensive. But we bought the Chinese knockoff,
of course,
which is Wado, and it was $10,000.
Still expensive,
yeah, super expensive. And he doesn't use that as much. He prefers sailing. So
I don't blame him. There's a lot to be said for relying on the wind and enjoying what it does when you're out there sailing. My dad had a catamaran when we were kids, and I went through sailing when I was in school and windsurfing, so I certainly can appreciate the enjoyment of being out on the water with the wind.
Yeah, we both come from sailing families. Like my mum and dad were sailors, his mum and dad were sailors, so it's always been in our blood to go sailing.
I make up for it with motorbike riding these days, get the wind in my face. But
that's when I tune off with your podcast, Gary. When the motorbike talk starts, I'm like, okay, fast forward.
That's all right. But we can talk about windsurfing and sailing and mountain biking.
Else going fast forward.
Well, no, I think this is really critical for people to understand. I would say the majority of people who start, particularly in lawn care and gardening, do it because of lifestyle reasons. So having a hobby like that is or simply wanting to spend more time with the kids, whatever it is, the lifestyle choices we make, they're all important.
Yeah, we didn't realise that at the time, and we didn't realise how lucky we were at the time to fall into this occupation. It was just we've always wanted to do our own business, and we've always wanted that flexibility, but it was like coming up with the idea. So even when it was mowing, we didn't think of it as a business for me to do. It was more something for me to do and get a little bit of money, and it turned into something great.
And one of the things we're going to touch on down the interview a little bit further is the amount of money that you can make. And I know you used the words describing this to me that you've taken a pay cut.
Yes, definitely. In dental hygiene, yes.
I would say that even though you've taken a pay cut, you're certainly not crying poor.
We're still paying the bills. We're still paying the mortgage. My mental health has improved after dropping healthcare. And we're not rolling in the money at all. Like, that's not our priority. We don't need to own a big house. We live in a tiny 1-bedroom unit, and we have a great lifestyle, and we're happy. That's more important to us than having the flash cars and the flash house and all those material things.
talked to my wife after I was talking to you yesterday about this, and I said to my wife, because she's working in healthcare as well, and the topic, she phrases it, and other people will phrase it the same way, compassion fatigue. When you work in healthcare, you are constantly surrounded by people who are needing your compassion. And that's pretty draining when you've been doing it for, I'm guessing, 30 odd years.
Yeah, well, from the time I was 18 to, 48. So, yeah.
That's 30 years. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard because you've got your qualification, you're registered with the dental board, you've got your insurance. So it was really hard to step away from that, because if I step away and don't maintain my registration, as with all healthcare providers in Australia, after
Yeah,
5 years, if I haven't done any work, I have to resit an exam. So I'm past that 5 year mark now that I haven't been registered. So it would be tough for me to get back into that. And
yeah,
it was a big effort to gain that qualification. So,
yeah,
but I mean, I haven't regretted doing it. I love dental. I'm a technician at heart. I love cleaning teeth. That's what I love doing.
yeah.
Uh, I don't love that there's a person on the end of those teeth when you have to be compassionate.
And yeah, you do have to be compassionate,
Very
because
much
that
so.
you're fixing something for them. You're not just doing maintenance like you are when you're lawn mowing.
Although the work that I did do was considered maintenance, in that
Yeah,
because I was cleaning teeth, it was maintenance for them. The biggest
yeah,
part of my role was education, as an educator, educating them about gum disease, about dental decay, how to brush, how to floss, and it was the same thing day after day after day, and
yeah.
making it sound exciting for them, like I'm not just regurgitating the same info.
Yeah, of course. But I think undoubtedly, if somebody comes to you looking for their lawn to be mowed, you're probably dealing with somebody who's used to regular maintenance. And the ones that are desperate and want a bond cleanup or a end of lease cleanup, they're probably getting a little bit annoying. But when you're dealing with people with cleaning their teeth, you would have a large percentage of them that are going, oh no, I've probably got some cavities, I've probably got who knows what else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that would be demanding.
I like doing the bond cleanups with the teeth, that's for sure. Like those people that haven't had their teeth cleaned for 20 years, they were the best. Whereas with the
Hmm.
mowing, if someone is after a bond clean now, 6 years later, we don't offer that. We did in the
Fair.
beginning, but because it was such a great transformation, it is
Yeah.
lovely to see those before and afters. And with oral health, it's amazing after cleaning someone's teeth up, just how great things will improve.
Well, don't tell your old work brain this, but I went to the dentist last year for the first time in almost 30 years.
Wow. How did you go? Did you get the clean bill of health?
No,
Oh,
no. There was a little bit of cleanup and recommendation to get 2 or 3 fillings.
oh, after 30 years, that's
Well, I made the decision to reduce sugar in my diet not well a few years ago, and yeah, I think
played a huge part.
it makes a massive difference. Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
hear these guys putting all these things into their water that they're drinking throughout the day.
yes,
And I just cringe. I just go, yep, you might be trying to think you're doing the right thing from a hydration point of view or whatever, but from an oral health perspective, they're destroying their teeth, destroying their health by having all those additives in there.
yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second before we go back to your lawn mowing stuff, because that it's relevant, and a lot of people will be going, "All right, we want to do electrolytes, which are your basic minerals, right?" But a lot of people will be slamming Gatorade, which is not a high ratio of electrolytes. It's probably got more sugar or a sugar replacement in it.
Yeah. The way
Um,
to drink those, if you're going to have them, is drink it and get rid of it. Like sit down at smoko, sit down at lunch, because it's not with decay, it's the how often you're exposing your teeth to an acidic product, which is what Gatorade is. It's acidic.
yep.
So your pH needs to recover after splashing a bit of Gatorade around. So if you're having a swill of Gatorade every, half hour, your mouth is never going to recover. Your teeth are literally going to fall apart on you. So you need to drink and
Mm,
sip on water, because that's pH neutral, no problems. Sip on that all day. But at lunchtime, if you feel like you need to smash down a Gatorade, that's when you would do it. And at the end of the day, It's a bit like Tim Tam biscuits. If you have what I used to say with patients, Tim Tam biscuits, just sit down and eat the whole packet, then you're right. But if you go back to the fridge every half hour and keep having a Tim Tam biscuit, you're lengthening that exposure
Yeah,
to the sugar, which is broken down into acid, which interferes with the pH, and your teeth will decay.
of course. I've been a water drinker for most of my life, and more recently I drink a few other things, but I steer clear of fruit juices and things like that, which are really high in sugar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard another theory that if you scrub your teeth directly after you eat, you're actually doing more damage than
Or
if you give
damage,
it.
especially if it's something acidic. Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
give it a
actually
little bit of
better,
time first, rinse your
yeah.
mouth out with water afterwards, and then
Rinse,
do it
yeah.
later. Yeah,
You're actually better off leaving the plaque on the teeth to have something really acidic to have that little bit of protection. But obviously the plaque does,
does
other
damage too.
things,
Yeah,
yeah, damage. So, and
yeah.
there's actually the evidence with the sports drinks. This is interesting. The only people that get benefit from those are usually elite athletes that are doing, I mean, I guess you could consider like the work that we do, it is a prolonged. We're not just going out to do a 1 hour gym session. You're doing 1 hour at the gym. Honestly, you don't need a Gatorade.
Yeah.
But elite athletes that are doing 6 to 8 hours, yes, they probably do need some electrolyte replacement.
Yeah, I've talked about it once or twice in my time podcasting, and my thoughts are when you are working in high humidity and you're sweating like crazy, or your daytime temperature that you're working in for hours on end is above 34 degrees, then you're probably going to need to do some replenishment.
Yeah.
But
Matt does. We both drink. We both have the Aussie Pal, which we've found to be the best drink bottle to keep the water, nice. And it
okay,
holds 4 litres. So we both drink 4 litres of water a day. Matt
yeah,
will do the magnesium supplements where you dissolve it, and he'll
yep,
drink that before he starts the day.
yeah,
I don't. I just don't like the taste of them. So I do the magnesium tablets.
yep,
Uh, I'll chew on those. They're just a chewable, so I'll do that
yeah.
instead. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be, drinking litres and litres of Gatorade a day. It's just not good
But
for you.
I've done Hammer Nutrition, which I've found to be pretty good because it doesn't have if you're getting their electrolytes, they don't have sugar in them. They do have a artificial sweetener of some sort, but they don't have sugar in there. And it's a tablet, so you dissolve it in the water and drink it. And I think they seem to be reasonably effective and healthy. But two alternatives that I've heard of recently is if you go for your Himalayan pink salt um, or coconut water, and I'm not sure about the coconut water,
I don't
but
know what the pH of coconut water is. See, there's two things that are in play:
yeah,
sugar and pH.
yeah,
So obviously sugar is bad from a dental perspective,
yep,
but also the pH. So it may not
yes,
have any, like it'll have artificial sweeteners in it. So you think, oh, it's sugar free, but the pH of sports drinks
yeah,
are often more acidic than Coke. And you
yeah,
know that Coca-Cola is acidic, and you know not to sip on that stuff all day long. But
yes,
yeah, the Himalayan salt, I've heard that as well. I read a book called Quench,
yeah,
which was about staying hydrated and actually eating your water. So Matt and I will often have the little tiny cucumbers
yep,
in the van. We'll pack an esky for the day, even though we only work a half a day. We're continually snacking on baby carrots, cucumbers.
yep,
Um, we'll have protein in there as well. So
yeah,
we'll cook up a steak or a chicken, cut that up, and we'll snack
yep,
on a bit of protein. We've always got nuts as well.
yeah. I do eat meat, but I generally go for the nuts for my protein if I'm carrying snacks to have during the day, but also fruit. So have a apple. An apple is pretty good for hydrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
So
cucumbers are really refreshing. I
yeah,
love the rock melon and the oranges, but I'm on a diet at the moment, so I'm going keto and high protein and trying to get rid of the carbs.
fair enough. Yeah, but having a fridge in the car makes that stuff much more enjoyable.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And we've just got a little esky that we've just put the ice blocks in, and
Yeah,
um, yeah, we don't have a setup to charge batteries or charge a fridge or anything like that. So we just keep it simple.
yeah. Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money season after season. Well, we've covered some dental hygiene and some general health. Relevant, but yeah, let's bring it back around to the start of your business. So 2018 you started.
Yep, first job in November.
Yep.
And then I also was looking for some part-time, like I was looking for work, obviously, and at that time I saw an ad. Rob from Hammer and Hoe was looking for a new gardener for his business.
Yeah, okay.
So I went and had a coffee with him, and I started working with him doing some subcontract work.
Yeah.
At the time. And then I also started, he was taking time off the tools and he was employing a gardener. So I looked after the schedule for those gardeners.
Yeah, wow.
And did that while I was building my own business. So that was a little bit of extra income, which was really good. So did that. And then in 2020, that's when Matt joined me. It was still, like you say, slow burn.
Yeah. So I think similar to me, the first 3 years or so, you were pretty invested in doing that, building the business. But I think I was talking to somebody else today about this, that sometimes when you are doing things to grow your business, it takes 2 or 3 years for you to see good results.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if it hadn't have been COVID, I wonder if we would have been a bit, more profitable, I guess, making a bit more money, because it was a bit harder in COVID with people being at home and looking after their own lawns and becoming actually interested in lawns during that time. A lot of people developed an interest in indoor plants and gardens and lawns.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, we
certainly.
did too. The other thing that we developed a passion for during that time was cylinder mowing. So Matt was renovating Scott Bonners during that time of COVID. So I might even go out and mow and he'd be, pulling a Scott Bonner down. I think he ended up renovating, half a dozen or so. And we were trying to get into the cylinder mowing market. And Conrad in Brisbane, you might have seen him on LMCA.
I've interviewed Conrad.
Yeah, he's heavily into the cylinder mowing in Brisbane.
Yes.
So we were trying, we just couldn't crack it. We had one really good client that we were doing with the cylinder mowing. We bought the battery Sterling Allet, bought that in. That was the first shipment. We were one of the ones that got the first ones through, and used the Ego batteries. Great mower, but it was just too much money sitting in one mower for one client when we only service 50 clients, and we just couldn't get. The grass just grows so fast, and without PGR and everything on the East Coast, it's hard going in Queensland. I admire Conrad for sticking at it.
I think you're chasing a premium customer when you're doing that. And in West Australia, I've had a look at what happens in West Australia. I would say the dollar value for cylinder mowing is not incredibly high. It's not that much higher to justify the bigger expense of the mower. But at the same time, how many people on the East Coast will go, all right, we'll get a ride-on mower and spend similar sort of money or more money on a ride-on mower and not necessarily get any more dollars for it either.
Yeah.
So I can understand and appreciate that. It's hard work. You won't find a lot of customers that are willing to pay a premium for it.
No.
They might pay a little bit more, but they're not willing to pay much of a premium. I think, and I don't see this happening, but I think there's more value in going, okay, you want cylinder mowing and weekly mowing instead of fortnightly.
Yes, and even with weekly, it's still tough because the grass is still too long after a week's growth, cutting it with a cylinder mower. Like even the job that we were doing, we were mowing weekly. We
Yeah.
actually had to mow it with the rotary first to pick up all the leaves because it was a really leafy job to get the bulk of the grass down. And it was wintergreen grass, which was just horrible to rotary mow. It actually cylinder mows really well. And then
Yeah.
we finish it with the cylinder mower. So
Yep.
it was taking us twice as long, and it just wasn't worth it for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard to get the customer over the line when you got to invest that much time,
Yeah,
and the rate of charge on that is
yes,
hard to
definitely.
justify.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think in West Australia, where they're cylinder mowing all of the lawns, they're using heavier mowers. So I know the Owlet that you talk about, the Sterling, it's a really good mower, but I think it's a different league to looking at a
Oh,
Mowmaster.
Mowmaster's just it's a lot lighter, the Allet. The Mowmaster's, if you're going to be doing it regularly like those guys are in WA, it's the
But
way to go.
the other thing is, in WA, they are living in a desert. So I found it absolutely astounding. You look at one lawn on one side of the street, it's green and cylinder mode, and then you look on the other side of the street where there's a house about to be built, and it's just sand. There's nothing growing in it because
Wow.
nothing will grow unless you water it.
Yeah. And they do a lot
And
of irrigation too, don't they, over there because of that?
if their reticulation, we don't call it irrigation.
Okay.
If their reticulation doesn't work, if it stops for some reason, get a blocked sprinkler or it gets switched off by somebody unknowingly, then their lawn turns brown and they can lose it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because they are watering the lawn and very precisely watering the lawn, then their growth at 2 weeks is reasonable to cut with a cylinder mower.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only other person I've spoken to that does cylinder mowing other than Conrad on the East Coast was using PGR. And it was essential for him to use PGR. I think he's still mowing with a cylinder mower fortnightly, but using PGR.
There is a guy here in Noosa that is doing cylinder mowing still,
Yeah.
Noosa Quality Lawns. We see him around. He's been doing it for many years,
Okay.
where he does have a few customers that he does. I don't know if he is using PGR, but we've actually got a couple of customers that we're using PGR. We weekly mow them with a
Yeah.
rotary, and we're using PGR just
Nice.
to get that nicer, denser growth.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, we'd add the liquid fertilizer, so we're doing it monthly, and that's what we've dropped. We've dropped the cylinder mowing, and we've now gone into offering seasonal fertilizing, liquid fertilizing, your pre-emerge, your lawn grub, and weed control if needed. But we're finding we're not having to do the lawn weed sprays like we used to now that we're using the barricade every 6 months.
And how many customers are you doing PGR with?
Good question. Oh, I should have looked that up. I wonder how many we are doing PGR on.
Well,
Um,
do my favourite thing, make up a number. Is
it
it like
would be half a dozen
half a dozen?
out of
Yeah.
our 50,
Yeah.
probably. If
Yeah.
Matt
Okay.
was here, he'd be able to tell you exactly how many it is.
Yeah. That's great. And they're value added customers.
Yes, yeah, because they're on a liquid fertilizer program. So
Yeah.
we have different, we just charge it as we go. We don't have a program where we split the cost for them over the year. So it's, basically they'll do weekly mows in summer, they'll do fortnightly mows in winter, and it's just pay as you go. So when we
Yeah.
do a seasonal fertilise at the start of the season, they'll pay for that. When we do their liquid fertilizer and their PGR, then they'll pay for that.
That's good doing it that way, but you do get a fluctuation in income
Yeah,
through the seasons because of the way
yes.
you do it, which is good and bad. So coming into spring, if you're doing a treatment there, you're going to get a significant increase in income for a month.
Yeah, it actually saved us at coming out of winter. This winter, I could really see the increase because August, September, we're doing barricade and lawn grub. And
Yep.
if a couple of the customers we've got, they're quite big-ish lawns, then we are adding a lot of product, so our expenses are obviously going up as well.
Yeah.
But we weren't flat out busy, and Matt had the time to do it, so it was a great little add-on that.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt's got his Chem Cert certificate. During COVID, he went and did his Hort 3 at
Yep.
Nambour at the TAFE college down there, got his certificate, got his Chem certificate license and all of that. And he
Yeah.
loved that side of it. He loved I wouldn't do it. If it was still just me running the business, I wouldn't be offering it. What
Yeah.
we did before Matt offering it, we used to just recommend Coochie Hydro Green, and we
Yeah.
still have clients that use him.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty much all of our clients wouldn't have weeds. So
Unfortunately, with Coochie Hydro Green, there's a lot of varying mileage depending on the contractor, the
mm,
franchisee in your area. And I believe the franchisee that's in my area working Central Coast, so from Sydney through to Newcastle, the franchisee on the Central Coast there is known to be quite good. But you do hear mixed reports, and some are great, some are not so great.
yeah, we're lucky. We've got Lockie in our area who does a great job.
Yep.
So our clients that are on him, the lawns are looking great. Like we have a
Yeah.
Ann Street, we look after about 6 properties, and yeah, the grass just looks great. He goes there every 7-8 weeks and looks after the fertilizing for us.
Yeah. That's great.
But pleased that we got into it. Pleased that Matt can offer that to boost our income a little bit.
So one of the things that I have seen come up when we talk about this is the dollar value of a customer. And I know you're talking about pay per service on these customers, but if we talk about an average customer in Australia, I would say the average customer in Australia is worth $80 per cut and 20 cuts a year, which makes them $1,600 a year. Now, yours might be slightly higher value than that for a basic customer. Somewhere around there is probably reasonable.
Yeah, that's
Sort
just a
of,
basic customer. Our
yeah,
best customer is 6,000 a year, and he's the
yeah,
one that we're doing the PGR, the weekly mowing,
yep,
seasonal fertilizing. So I keep track of that. Like when I'm
yeah.
considering whether I'm going to drop someone, if they're a $1,600 a year customer and I can replace it with a $6,000 a year customer, then I'm unfortunately going to drop the $1,600
Well,
customer.
when we put it in numbers like that, it's an easy choice.
Yeah. And I just plug that info in. I have it there. So we've got a
Yeah,
couple of annoying customers out of the 50. And I'm always thinking, like, because we can't take any more on, I'm always thinking if I'm doing a quote, if I get a call, it's having to replace an existing client pretty much. So
yeah,
if we can replace an existing client with a better client, then we're definitely going to do it. So we're heading more in the way of like my questions when I get a phone call. The first one is, what suburb are you in? So if you're not in Noosaville, we don't service you.
yeah.
That's my first question. And then I'll refer them to one of two guys that I refer to, budget or premium, because that's my next question. Are you after a budget service or a premium service? If they say, yep, it's a bond cleanup, a budget service, then I've got a budget guy that I give them their number. If it's premium, I will then sort of go on to, great, so you're happy to get control of the weeds and look after the lawn, then we'll get to the process of actually going out and quoting for them. But yeah, we're not going to take on another $1,600 client that drops us in winter.
So this is what I love about our industry. It's easy to refer somebody to a cowboy or a budget
Yeah.
mowing service when it's not the right fit for you.
Yep.
And there's a place for them. We work alongside them.
Yep.
Um, there's
Definitely.
probably plenty of listeners here that either are or have been in that category. I have been in that category before. So,
Stuck it in
that
the back of my Jeep.
yes, we need to show everyone pictures of your different
Me in the back of
setups.
my Jeep. I was the cowgirl.
Yeah.
$25 an hour probably back then. I quickly changed. Well, back then, it was interesting. We were talking about LMCA. I was searching Facebook for
Yeah.
a group for Australian lawnies, and I could not find anything. It was all American, wasn't relevant for
Yep.
us. And just by magic, LMCA popped up, and it was the same time as me starting my business. So
Yeah.
the amount of valuable information I got from that as I went along
Yep.
was fantastic.
It was really an explosion at that point in
Yeah.
time because even in America, there was one podcast and no Facebook groups that I knew of. And then on that one podcast, so he was actually Canadian, Julio Tomei. He interviewed a guy in the UK, John. John started the first Facebook group I was aware of for lawn contractors, and it was based in the UK, but it was getting attention from all over the world.
Wow.
And I joined that group. And as I joined that group, I was participating in a couple of get togethers with local Australian contractors and talking about how we connect. And next thing I know, there's LMCA.
LMCA,
And
yeah.
it was great
Was it
timing.
Greg that started that back
Well, there was
then?
several people involved in it. Greg was one of the guys
Oh,
involved in it. Another guy that was the key founder for it. I'm just trying to remember his name. I can't remember it, but he left, stopped being an admin, and Anthony and Jared took over as the admins. So Anthony was always an admin. Greg was an admin, and Brendo, that's his name. Brendo was the other admin.
yep.
Yeah. So Brendo left the group. Greg left the group. Anthony stayed. Jared joined up as another admin.
Oh, hats off to those guys. You know, it's a big job,
Yeah.
especially now that they've got over 8,000 members, trying to moderate that and
Yep.
controlling everything. You've just got to learn to recognize the people that you can trust their information, like Conrad and Luke Smith and
Yeah.
Tom Banks and those guys that do provide valuable information, and scroll past the stuff that's not relevant for you.
There is a mix in there of valuable and non-valuable
Yeah.
information, and there's also significant variation between LMCA and Greg's group, the Australian Professional Contractors, and I've found a few people prefer one group over the other, but yeah, they both
Yeah,
offer
great that
value.
they're both
Yeah,
there. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Get that information from. It definitely helped me with my hourly rate, for sure.
yeah.
And I guess I went a bit extreme with the whole fixed price thing and never exposing my hourly rate. And now I've swung back the other way.
Okay.
It's another one of my qualifying, like if, because we do get calls all the time, you know, what's your hourly rate?
Yeah,
And our mows now pretty much $90 mows. Our next jump, we're going to go to 100. I'm going to skip the 95 increase and just go straight to 100.
yeah,
And if someone does ask my hourly rate for mowing, I'm not going to be frightened to say, well, it's $100 an hour per
yeah,
person. And that will filter out the people that don't
yep,
want premium work. We're good at what we do and
yeah,
we're proud of that. Obviously, if we did do any hedging, those rates were a little bit higher.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm not so strict on the hourly rate. Like I know what it is. We do fixed price for mowing. We'll go in. Most of our mows are $90 anyway. If it takes us longer than an hour, it'll be 115, 135,
yep.
around that area.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value in both fixed price as well as hourly rate, and depending on the type of client you're working for, as to whether you share openly your hourly rate
Yeah,
or you give them a fixed price. But I think even when you do give them a fixed price, you still need to be prepared to have that discussion, because chances are that sooner or later a customer will start looking at you and going, oh, I wonder how long they are spending here for that $90, $100, $150.
yeah,
And if you don't have an answer for them, then they're probably not going to be a customer for much longer.
that's right.
So, yeah, I've found particularly with larger commercial work, it is very much based on hourly rate, and you can't hide it. You've got to go, well, you know what? This is a business. This is what the hourly rate is for
That's
this
what it
business to
is.
operate.
Yeah, especially like I get to talk to a lot of people now, obviously through my other job, which we haven't talked about, but I do some training for Sortscape, and I get to talk to a lot of people now. And I was talking to a new lady in business who offers gardening and weeding,
Yeah,
and I remember thinking, you can't do fixed price on that stuff. Like, how can you do a fixed price job on I'm coming in to hand weed your garden? It definitely needs to be more than $100 an hour for me to bend down and weed a garden, that's for sure. I'm not
Um,
doing it anymore, but that sort of work does need to be hourly rate, I think.
yeah, and I've often recommended for people to work on a day rate when it comes to those sort of jobs, but it's really hard to predict how long it's going to take you to do a garden. When you're doing a weeding job, if it's overgrown, those weeds are really hard to pull.
Yep, hard soil, compacted.
Yep.
Yep, yep,
If it's been mulched and watered regularly and it's really easy to do, it's a completely
yeah,
different garden.
yep, absolutely.
So it makes a massive difference. And you can't always tell just by looking at it how long it's going to take.
No,
So if you offer the person, well, I'll be here for half a day, it's going to be $500, or I can just give you an hourly rate and we'll do as much as we
And
can.
we'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. I've got a couple of clients now that have been fixed price that I'm actually switching over to hourly rate because they get us to do a little bit of something, even though we don't offer that service. Like one that we go to on a Tuesday, every second Tuesday, he has a massive garden bed out the back that he likes us to hand weed and then spray the little stuff.
Yep.
And then he's got a palm tree out the front. Can we just cut off some dead palms? I'm not going to suggest another gardener for him because it literally is, 10, 15 minutes each time for us to do something for him. And he's on a lawn program as well. He's spending a lot of money with us. He's one of those probably not 6,000. He's probably a $4,000 a year customer.
Yeah.
But when we do anything extra, it's not a problem. We can do it, but I just do time basis for him and just do hourly rate.
Have you thought about adding barricade to his garden?
I wonder if Matt has. I'd have to ask him if he has.
So I know barricade in a garden can save you a lot of time with
Yeah.
weeding.
I know that he has done it in our garden beds here where we live, but I must ask him if he's done it for this client.
Yeah. It would save a lot of time, but if you're
Yeah,
working on that basis of charging them for the service, you need to charge them a substantial amount for barricade to be applied. But I guess that raises the question about how you convey your value to the customer. Do you simply say, look, you're a $4,000 a year customer regardless of how we deal with it? Or do you say, well, we're going to offer you this service, it's $250, but it will save you about $300 on weeding?
yeah, that's right. And we're already applying barricade to his lawn, so I don't see why Matt wouldn't be doing the barricade on the garden bed. He
Yeah.
mustn't have because that garden bed is just atrocious. It's terrible. And he's a renter, which we don't do rental properties generally, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's come from Sydney and he's really looking after the property like it was his own. So he's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you get quite a few people moving into your area, into Noosa, from
Yep.
Mexico.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of holiday homes as well. So, yeah, and there's definitely there's the people that can afford to live here in Noosa, and then there's likes of us that can't really afford to be living here. We're in a one-bedroom unit. We can't afford a house here in Noosa. We lived in Gympie for 20 years,
Yeah.
where property was a lot cheaper, but we really wanted to come down here. So sacrificed being in a house to being in a unit. Um, Interestingly, the people that can't afford to be here are the ones that pay us promptly. And then the Mr. Waters properties that we do, there's some great people in there, don't get me wrong, but they
Yeah.
generally don't appreciate the value of a dollar like the people that can't afford to be living here.
It's interesting that, isn't it? I've found places that are gentrified, generally you don't get that issue. But when you've got a mixture, then you get that issue come up all the time. And I've seen it in my local area where you've got people who are obviously have plenty of money living beside somebody who has next to no money. And the person with next to no money was like, yeah, I'll pay you $90 to cut my grass. And they make sure they got the money there every time. And if they don't,
Yeah,
they're really
right.
apologetic. And the person who's loaded won't even answer the door.
No.
And then they want the discount.
Yep, yep. We had one fellow who's still a customer actually, and we were mowing a property in Noosa Waters, and he pulled up in his red Ferrari
Yeah.
and want us to come around to do a quote
Yep.
because he wasn't happy with the quality and the reliability and the communication and all
Yep.
those things from his existing gardener.
Yeah.
Well, she just about fell over when, and this is going back a couple of years ago now, because he was paying $40 a mow, and we said no straight away. This is definitely a $75 mow, and at the time that was high for us when we quoted that.
Yeah.
And she went, "Oh, we're not paying that." With the Ferrari, and I don't even know what her car is, but
Yeah.
the waterfront property. And well, you can do it this time, but we'll probably just get our old guy to do it. Well, the husband was super impressed because we did lovely edges. We blew all the grass back onto the grass. Then we mowed it all up. We left everything really nice. And he
Yeah.
had a conversation with us about how the company that he was using, which is the budget company that we refer to, it would be
Yeah.
a different guy every time. And he would come in and he would just have a mess. And he would actually have to say to the contractor, how about you whip first and then blow the grass back onto the grass and then mow it up rather
Yeah.
than just leaving such a mess. So
Yep.
there's still clients, surprisingly.
Yep.
and they're quick to question how, the invoice.
Yep.
But it's a
But,
quality property, and
but they
yeah,
know that if you pay $40, you're going to be dealing with those grass
that's
clippings
it. Yeah.
everywhere.
Different guy each time who hasn't had any training,
Yep.
is probably a backpacker here in Noosa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of backpackers working for companies like that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've told this story on the podcast before, but one of my customers historically that was a very well-off customer, multiple properties that he owned that I looked after for him, and this particular property he bought, and at the time it was worth, at a guess, 2 to 3 times as much as every other property that I was looking after.
Yeah.
And he asked me to do a cleanup to put it up for sale. And I looked at it and I was like, all right, I'm going to be here for at least today. It's $1,100. It's 1,000 plus GST.
Yeah.
And his response was, can you do a cash price? Now, he's a wealthy businessman. And I said, look, I don't do a cash price, but I can do whatever price you want. Do you want me to do the best job or do you want me to do the cheap job? And he's like, oh, okay, no worries. Did the $1,100. Thank you.
Yeah. That's what it costs.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not doing cash. Doesn't matter how you look at it. That's not an option. My business doesn't work that way, but I can do $500 worth of work or I can do $1,000 worth of work. And if you like $1,000 worth of work, you're still going to pay the GST on top of that.
Exactly.
And he's like, yeah, I want it to look good.
I'm putting it up for sale.
So, yeah, I mean, you speak their language, so Lem?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And they're not all like that. It's just, I guess it's that old, they make the most noise. So with that 20/80 rule.
Yeah. Well, I talk to a lot of business people because of the podcast. And I think that's one of the lessons I've learned is that business people and rich people are usually business people. They understand a certain language. We've covered some interesting topics at the moment about your business historically and getting a bit of an idea of what you're doing. I really like that you have weekly customers because it's not often that I get to talk to people that actually have weekly customers, particularly when you upsell them with a full package.
Yeah. I think we've got about 12 out of our 50 that are weekly. Yeah. And we love doing those properties.
That is a pretty good ratio.
Why do you want them to listen to your podcast?
So that when they think about starting a business, they've got the content that is pointing them in the right direction.
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
The change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
If we change gears now, is that all right if we talk about a couple of different topics?
Yeah, of course it is, Gary. Yeah, I'm happy if anything, if one person can take away a little piece of something that they've got from it, then it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because of what we mentioned at the start of the podcast, that there's a limited number of women that I've had the opportunity of interviewing. So being as such, I'm very curious as to how you've found working in lawn care, running your own business, and the challenges that you have found. I know you would have seen some sexism and some interesting comments on LMCA.
Very much so.
Some of them are not worth biting on. Some of them you might need to push back a little. But how have you found it? Not just in the online community, but in dealing with customers and other businesses face to face?
Yeah, interesting. Matt and I were discussing this last night after you and I had talked, and we actually haven't had that in Noosa. Like I've had it with other contractors where like I'm excited, I'm new to the industry, I want to get to know you. Like in dental, we talk to other dental surgeries, but the lawnies don't talk to each other.
Yeah, okay.
They don't wave. Like I'm, waving and
That's
saying
bizarre.
hello at the tip, and they're like, yep, you're my competition. And I didn't see it that way. But from a customer point of view, I had a lot of customers that actually liked that I was female and I knew my plants. I have an interest in gardening anyway.
Yep.
So like my very first customer, she was thrilled I was female. She was, because she's a single lady herself, and she liked that I was well presented, and she felt safe having me come into her home and help her, because we would work together, doing her hedges. So
That's
it,
one of the things I've heard from other women is that the customers feel safer with them than they would with a male turning up to their home when it's a single mum or a
yeah,
single elderly lady.
yeah, because unfortunately, back then, it's different now. I mean, it's only 6 years, but back then, when I came into the industry in Noosa, they didn't look presentable. The other lawnies, unfortunately, they
Yeah,
didn't dress well. Their vehicles weren't kept nice.
yep,
It didn't give me a good impression of them at
yeah.
all. So they're rocking up with their shirts off and things that I just wouldn't find appropriate at all to run a business.
That just sounds like a Queenslander.
But I think that you still have to, like Matt and I, like really try and present well. Our vehicle presents well. We have great
Yes.
sign writing.
Yep.
We wear color coordinated, bright, colorful shirts to generate conversation with people passing us by.
Yep.
Yeah, we look professional. So it's not
Yeah.
hard to impress a customer if your competition's not wearing a shirt.
This is true.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think unless your competition is Leroy, then that's not an advantage.
So no, I didn't cop much sexism, which was great.
That is great.
Yeah, you were asking me yesterday what were some of the struggles, and the mower definitely is, I guess, one of the biggest issues. So when I first started up the business, Matt did all the research for me of what equipment I was going to be using, because at the time I was just seeing that one client using her equipment, her
Yep.
mower, her hedger, and I
Yeah.
was looking after her. So Matt did all the research. So back then in 2018, there was only two platforms, and it was going to be battery. There was no question about it. He wasn't going to let me
Cool.
work with petrol. He didn't want
Nice.
me to be exposed to all the negativity of fumes and vibration. He said it's just better for us to go battery. So
But
Ego won out. I
yeah.
think it was Ego and Husqvarna at the time, but I think Ego might have been the only 56 volt platform, which
Yes.
worked in my favour because the mower was only 25 kilos. So as a female out there by myself in the back of my Jeep, then I could lift the mower into the back of my Jeep because it was only 25 kilos.
So that was in 2018 or 2019 you got that?
2018. Maybe it was early 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, but had been
That's
Ego from the start.
that is about the same time I started showing interest in battery. I started testing battery gear in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was between Husqvarna and Still. And I did look at Ego actually. I didn't give Ego a consideration because they didn't have any
No
commercial
commercial
options.
gear. No, it was all resi. So we've used all resi gear up until they brought out the commercial gear.
Yeah.
And definitely now that we're using the commercial gear as opposed to the resi gear, because I didn't have the experience of, I mean, I mowed my own grass with petrol, but I hadn't been a
Yeah.
contractor with petrol. I now know that the resi mower is technique sensitive in comparison to the commercial. The
Yeah.
commercial mower, I don't have to be as precise. The resi mower, I understand why a lot of guys have trouble with it because it's not heavy. It's
Yeah.
light. You have to be like you either with the like actually my first Ego mower was not even self-propel. And I did a big property out at Koroiba that used to take me a couple of hours pushing through this dense buffalo with
Oh
no
no.
self-propel. So I was in heaven when I got a self-propelled mower.
Yeah.
But with that residential Ego mower, if you're on self-propel, the height changes from self-propel to push.
It changes the angle of attack on the blades, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. So it's really, you can do a really crap job if you're not precise. And I didn't realize this. I was just learning to do a great job and I just did that. But if I had a choice now, if I was working by myself, would I use the commercial? I still love the select cut, the lightness. We've still
Yeah.
got it and we
Yeah.
still use it.
Yep.
But the commercial, I don't have to think about it. It's a no-brainer. It's heavier. We've got the Renault Traffic van now. We chose that van because of its low floor. So we
Yep.
park at the gutter. We don't use ramps. I just wheel it back on its back wheels,
Yep.
pop the wheels onto the floor and wheel it in. So I can still mow. Like if Matt's unwell, I'll go out and do the round by myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have any troubles lifting or using ramps or anything like that.
Have you put a floor in the back of the van?
No, just a rubber mat. We've
Yeah.
been through probably 4 different styles of fit outs because Matt's obviously a tradesman. We could do lots of fit outs.
Yeah.
And our fit out would change as we would do different gear. So in the beginning when we were offering lots of hedging, lots of gardening, but now that we've cut it back to mowing, we still carry hedges because we still do it for our mowing clients. The fit out has got a lot simpler. It's not as complicated as what it was when we had all the gear.
Yep.
And we did we have a false floor? We may have had in one of the versions of the fit out,
Yeah, okay.
but not anymore, just a rubber mat.
So you've had a lot of similar vehicles to me because the Ford Ranger you had was almost the same as the one I had.
Yep, after the Jeep. I only lasted about 6 months in the Jeep, I think I must say. So I went to the Ute very quickly.
I'm jealous I never had a Jeep, but I had a Land Cruiser, so
Yeah. I have got my Jeep back again. We did sell that
Nice.
Jeep to get the Ute,
Yeah.
and then we had to sell the Ute to get me a new Jeep because I just missed having my Jeep here in Noosa with the roof off and
Yeah, I bet.
hair.
Yep.
And you had a Traffic as well.
Yeah, so I had a long wheelbase Traffic, and I put the plywood floor in it so that it was easier to take care of with getting the mower on and off the floor, a nice smooth,
Right.
or non-slip but smoother surface to work with.
Right. And you had storage underneath. That's what you mean by putting
No.
Oh, no, just
No.
the floor.
So Conrad's done that. He's built a false floor where he ramps hide under the actual floor on his van.
Yeah.
But with the Renault Traffic, it doesn't have a really high roof, so there's not a lot of room to play with putting a false floor that's elevated like that in there. So I stuck with just I think it's a 20 mil plywood floor.
Right.
And I was able to put the ride-on mower in there and the push
Yeah.
mower and all the bits and pieces in there quite easily.
Because that was one avenue we were thinking of going down, was that as well. And then we borrowed Rob's ride-on mower, who I was doing some subcontracting work for, and we did one property on a ride-on, 0 turn, and we both went, yeah, no, this is not us. We hated it. We both hated it. And we never fight, but that day I still clearly remember doing that vacant block of land. It was just, we didn't enjoy it. We preferred doing the beautiful manicured, lovely green grass, not the vacant block of land smashed down.
Yep. And I've said this to a lot of people when they ask me for advice about getting a ride-on or a stand-on mower, because obviously I've got an affiliation there with Cox mowers and Wright mowers. So I love convincing people that a stander is a really good option for them. But when it comes to a business like yours, and people in your situation will ask me, I think I'd like to get a 32-inch stander. It'll save me a lot of time. And I'm saying, have a look at the Time Master 30-inch, or if you want to go battery, the Greenworks 30-inch. And you'll find for the jobs you're currently doing, that's a better machine rather than going to a stander.
Yeah.
And
our properties are probably too small. Like, we have lots of access issues with our Noosa Waters properties. Getting down to the waterfront bit of grass, we've got to take it downstairs.
Yep.
So
I tell people, if you've got 600 square meters or above of grass to cut, that's where the stander is going to start saving you time.
Pretty much all of ours are below that.
So if you're working larger than that, and then you've got to start weighing in the consideration of what it's going to look like when you use it too, because a push mower or a self-propelled mower is going to give a different finish, even if it's roughly the same size. You go for a 30-inch Time Master and then you put it beside a 32-inch Stander B, the cut finish is going to be different. Now, the Stander B gives a really nice finish, but you're going to start looking at using a catcher on the side of the machine, which then means you take the catcher on and off, going through the gates and all those sorts of access points. It's great when you're talking slightly larger gates and slightly larger properties.
Yeah. The other consideration we have is the rain up here. We are able to get out mowing quicker after rain than the guys with the heavier mowers, especially when we didn't have the commercial ego. When we still had the select cut, we could mow without leaving ruts because the mower was only 25 kilos.
Yeah.
You can't get a stander, like you're going to have to wait days for it to dry out, and we just get too much rain.
Yes. And even the Honda HRU 216 is more than twice the weight.
Yeah.
They definitely leave ruts when you are using them on really soft ground.
Yeah. Yep. And we've got some really soft properties that really hold the water as well. especially one property in Noosa Waters, we have to actually leave it to the last mow because it does hold that water. I've actually got a funny story about access and our waterfront properties that we look after. We got so sick of carrying the mower down to the waterfront and we're actually destroying our mower going up and down stairs and whatnot. So we actually stopped mowing a couple of them because it's only a postage stamp down on the waterfront where they pull up their barbecue pontoon boat. We would whip a snip, and we weren't happy with the quality of it at all. It looked absolutely terrible. So can you have a guess what we're using now?
It's got to be a robot, I'm sure.
No, it's only a small area. We're definitely battery.
Yeah. So is it?
You're going to laugh at us.
It's got to be an.
It's got to
be an Azedo.
Yeah. And it is fantastic because it's such a small area. We can carry it down there. It's getting cylinder cut. So it's actually looking nicer than their grass that we rotary cut. And it's just a little old battery, $250 Azedo cylinder mower that we use especially for these waterfront properties. And it does the job. But don't judge us. We don't have anything else Azedo. It's the only thing we have that's Azedo.
But there's not a lot of comparable machines there that will do that. And I think maybe, is it Ryobi or Victor or somebody does something similar?
Ryobi Azedo.
Yeah. But
tomatoes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options there when you're talking a lightweight cylinder mower, unless you go completely manual cylinder mower where it's driven off the wheels.
Yeah, we could do that, but the Azedo just makes it so easy. So we've got a couple of properties that we do that with now, and we're happy with the quality that we're producing on those jobs.
That's great. Does what it's needing to do, and probably what it's designed to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've covered a few things around what it's like for you as a woman working in this industry. Unless there was any other things in that topic that you wanted to bring up.
I had to laugh when I was listening to your podcast about peeing in hedges. That's what hedges are for. So knowing where all the toilets are, I guess that is an issue as being a female because I can't squat in the van to do a wee or in a head.
Yeah, that's. I believe that is a practical issue that needs to be addressed. If you like, a guy can very easily find somewhere that. And depending on the customer, of course, as
or
to where,
the bottle in the van. It's easy for Matt just to duck into the van. He's got a proper bottle there that he can use, but we don't need to go out and find a toilet for him. But interestingly enough, I can work, we only work 5 hours maximum. I can drink 4 litres and not pee all day. I sweat it out, obviously. I don't need to go looking for a loo. And I don't need to pee all the time, but when we do need to go, it's like, oh, okay, but we do know where all the toilets are. So
I think the amount of time you're working in one day makes that a lot easier because I know down here, if I do a full day, unless it's really hot and I'm drinking, 600 mils to a litre every hour, unless it's like that, then chances are I'm going to need a toilet or a bathroom break somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But
I haven't had to duck into a bush or anything yet. So, but from a female point of view, I can't think of anything else that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it was great when Matt came on board because we could, and we were still, offering lots of different services. So, I mean, I was doing stuff that I probably shouldn't have been doing. I sent you that photo of me on the Matic pulling out some Radamashiras for a female client. And I wouldn't do that today. I wouldn't pick up a Matic and offer that type of service. But when Matt came along, it was great because I could say, at least Matt can do that. Like hedging jobs now, we don't do that often, but Matt tends to do all the hedging work now, whereas I used to do all that. I still do our hedges here in the unit complex. I'll look after those.
Yep.
But having a bit of muscle. And I think I was talking to you yesterday about how the clients will go up to Matt to ask him a question and he'll go, no, speak to the boss. She's the one that handles the schedule. If you want to schedule something in, I don't dare touch the schedule.
Yep. That's the topic I wanted to hit next.
Scheduling, favourite.
Well, when we talking about business, we've covered a lot about clients and how you pick up different clients, the type of equipment you use, all the systems that people are really keen on when they're starting a business is, what equipment do I need? How do I find clients? That's great. And where do I go to the toilet? All done. But if you are you thinking of leaving your job to start a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares stories, lessons, and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient, and sustainable business. Got questions or want more information? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com or reach out to Gary Ashton on Facebook or Messenger for personal help. But beware, your question may end up in a podcast episode. For business coaching that ensures the right mindset and decision-making approach, check out Think Tank Coaching. Their website is https://thinktankcoaching.com.au. They've been instrumental in helping me and can guide you towards achieving your business goals. You can also email them at thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. If you haven't thought about the other systems that you need in place, then you're going to find business really hard. So when it comes to looking at systems, obviously I'm pretty pro looking at franchise, even though I'm not in a franchise. It puts a lot of those systems in place right off the bat. But you, coming from your background in dental hygiene, you've worked with various systems in dental hygiene, and you've brought that same approach across to working in lawn care.
Yeah, I wish I had I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, actually, because it's only been a year that we've been using Sortscape. And up until then, we used a calendar app on our phone. I love Excel spreadsheets. I love admin. I love dotting I's, crossing T's. I love that side of it. And we just have spreadsheets everywhere. And we have the calendar was just getting to a point where, because we like to keep track, like our customers aren't on the same height every like our mower, we use the range, so we know what height we're cutting a lawn at. And it was that kind of information. It was like, oh, what did I cut that on last time? Whereas now that we've got a Sortscape, all that information is there for us. So I should have done it sooner, especially at how affordable it is. It wasn't expensive to implement.
I used a spreadsheet and a calendar app for a large part of my business, so it's not a bad thing to do.
No, and I still use spreadsheets for things. I'm trying to use them less and less and trying to put that information into Sortscape, which is working for me. Yeah. But I still, like my annual figures that we were talking about yesterday, that's still in a spreadsheet. Because I like numbers. I came from working in a dental field where that particular boss, we had to spreadsheet everything. So I just have loved that.
Well, I think when you're talking about a scheduling app or a CRM, then it's essentially running on a spreadsheet or a database in any case. So the more complicated they are, the more they lend towards a database rather than just a spreadsheet. But I switched from the spreadsheet to Xero for my accounting. I've never actually implemented a CRM.
Wow.
Excuse me.
How many clients are you looking after again, Gary?
One.
Oh, that's right. You've got one commercial property, haven't you?
I've actually got more than one contract, but yes.
Right. So you don't need a CRM to schedule that.
I have thought about using it, but no, it really doesn't serve me a major purpose.
No.
The value would be like you're talking about in terms of going, okay, this area here does X and this area here does Y, and this needs to be done weekly, that needs to be done daily. Those sorts of things come up. Yeah. But for like it's not like I've got 50 clients or 150 clients that I need to work into a schedule.
Yeah.
So that side of it, I don't need a CRM. And I think the other thing is a CRM is actually a very complicated piece of software, whereas a lot of what we're using is probably better referred to as scheduling.
Yeah. So
I think once you start adding to the scheduling side of it, you're getting closer to a CRM. But I've had pushback from one person in particular, which was like when I'd looked at ServiceMate, is this actually a CRM or is it not a CRM? And the qualifying comment seemed to be if it does all of your lead gen, lead management side of it, then they thought that it was qualified as a CRM. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting perspective. And I can see how the more customer management it does, client management and lead management that it does, the more likely you would call it a CRM.
Yes, yeah.
So
But Sortscape, definitely, its scheduling is so great. It handles the repeating visits so well. That's something that they do really well.
yeah, okay.
Would it be classified as a CRM or not?
So I've never used Sortscape.
Right.
I'm still learning a bit about what Sortscape does. From what you've told me, and I'm going to be talking to somebody else who uses Sortscape. I might see if I can actually get the owners of the business in after that and have a chat to them,
Right.
and we'll find out more details.
Yeah, they've got a good story. Like they started in 2015,
Yeah.
providing it for the small business. So
So
it'd be
based
great
on
to talk to them.
based on my limited knowledge of Sortscape at this point in time, I would say that it is more of a CRM than just a scheduling app. But it sounds like features they will implement will certainly add value to the CRM side of it.
Yeah, well, they're really keen to add features all the time. So they've released invoicing, native invoicing. They have
Yeah.
always integrated with QuickBooks and Xero,
Yeah.
but they now do native invoicing. And within
Yep.
the next, definitely week or two, quoting will come out. So I've been testing the quoting feature, which is great.
Yeah.
And the other things that they're working on is the Zapier integration and the lead generation. So they're very keen to
Yeah.
listen to the industry and implement the features that we need.
It sounds like they are attempting to deal with all of the issues, particularly for the lawn care industry, because they pretty much focused on gardening,
Lawn and
landscape.
garden. Lawn and
Yeah.
garden,
Yeah.
yeah. The
So for
repeating visit. They can do like we can do definitely do one-off visits in the application, but the time saving factor comes in on the repeating visit because you set up a repeating visit
yeah.
every week, every 2 weeks, what it is. You set up the invoice at that same time. So if it's a $90 mow, that's on a repeating visit. So
Yep.
all you have to do when you go to the job is open up the app. You can use the timer if you wish, which we do use, so we can keep track
Yep.
of how long we're spending. We've got a checklist there of what height we're doing, what we're actually doing. So when I'm ready to do the invoice, I've often got the invoice done in 3 clicks before Matt even pulls out of the driveway. So it's
Yeah.
complete visit, create the invoice, hit create, and it's done. So it's a QuickBooks because I'm integrated with QuickBooks. It's
Yeah.
a QuickBooks invoice that I don't even have to leave Sortscape to create. So same for the Xero users. And
Yeah.
then obviously the native invoice users, now they just, hit create and send email or text message. So it just saves so much admin time not having to come home and do your invoices at the end of the day.
That does sound like they are qualifying more in line with a CRM than a simple scheduling app. And
Right.
even when you break down the difference there, a lot of the scheduling apps don't have all of the features you'd want in them. I notice things like route planning
Oh,
and
yeah, the route optimization feature is great. I actually didn't think I needed it. I mean, I was using it when I was working for when I was doing the subcontracting work. But once I started using Sortscape, it was actually good to go, I can improve that route a little bit more. I can see it
yeah.
and use it all the time. So I was actually paying for Road Warrior,
Okay.
to do the route optimization then. But obviously don't need to pay for that now because it's all included in the
Yeah.
Sortscape subscription.
Yeah. Awesome. So I
Yeah.
guess, the other features that I think are a massive improvement for a CRM is once it starts looking at your employees or the number of users that are in the app. So for your business, you've got yourself and Matt in there. But if you had, say, 2 teams of people going out and you can trust that Sortscape is doing the software management for the other team, so you can look at it afterwards and go, okay, how efficient were they? Have a quick look at the pictures they took of the before and afters. Have a look at anything that might be included by the way of KPI or issues that arise.
It is,
Those
yeah.
those sorts of things.
Yeah, the issues feature is great because if Matt's out doing the run, if I'm actually at home, I can actually see a little symbol pop up on the schedule that there is an issue there. There's an issues tab where I can go and look at all the issues. But if he finds something while he's on a job, he just takes a photo, marks it as an issue like broken irrigation, hedge needs trimming, we need to quote to mulch that garden bed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all there. So an employee could just add an issue within a couple of seconds, a couple of clicks on their phone, and it's back there on the admin for the admin person to see straight away.
The other one that would be really great is when it flicks the invoice off to the customer and asks them to give a star rating.
Oh, yeah.
So if it says, hey, how'd you find this service?
Yeah.
And if they give less than 5 stars, can you identify any issues?
Yep.
And then their issues become something you can then log back in and go, well, do I need to call the customer, or do I need to flag this with my employee or the team that I'm not monitoring closely?
Yeah, that would be definitely. I'll make a note of that and mention that. You'll have to mention that when you're talking to the guys, Gary.
Yeah, for sure.
Feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love the feedback, not feedback so much, but I love that the new quoting app, when you send out a quote to a client, when I used to do it in QuickBooks, it could be there. I never found it, but a customer actually had to call us to accept a quote. They couldn't accept it online.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Xero is the same. Can they accept a quote online with Xero and you know that they've accepted, or do they have to call you and say, yep, go ahead with the work?
I'm pretty sure they can accept it online.
Okay. I haven't found it in QuickBooks. I could be wrong, but I'll use the quoting in SortScape now. I won't use the quoting in QuickBooks because when I send it to the client, they can accept it. And then there's the different stages of the quote process that will be looked after. So then I can actually schedule a visit from that quote associated with that quote.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Xero I can send a quote with a deposit option, so they can leave a deposit, which is a way of accepting the quote.
Ah, okay.
I'd have to go back and look at it. It's a little while since I've done that, but
and we don't do that many quotes now anyway, so it's not.
No.
It would have been super handy back then, but we're still recommending lawn programs, so that's where we do a lot of quoting for our existing clients. Is recommending lawn programs,
Yes.
taking care of their fertilising and their weed control and their barricade, etc.
Yep, for sure.
So we'll be certainly promoting that a lot more.
And that'd be really handy if you flick them a quote and they sign off on it. So next time you're there, you bang, away you go.
Yep, done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I love software. Just I used to train, obviously I said at the start, I used to train dental people from home how to use the dental CRM side of things. So I've always had an interest in software.
Yeah, okay. So that's great. What would you say in terms of how your business operates? Because you did say you've only been using SortScape for about a year now.
Yeah, surprising. I can't believe it. I wish I had started it. I've been using QuickBooks longer. I went from a spreadsheet like you to QuickBooks, and wish I had done that sooner as well.
So what would you say, like going from the 3 places you've been, what would you say is the improvement in efficiency?
The 3 places
So going from spreadsheet to QuickBooks, that improves your efficiency, but it's mostly in the back end.
Yep.
Going from spreadsheet with QuickBooks and calendar app through to using a CRM, you're going to improve efficiency on the job as well.
Yeah, so much so. And you can just provide a better service because you can keep track of things, and you don't have to go, oh, that's right, we were supposed to do fertilizer for that customer. We were just committing it to memory. We were doing it really poorly. We were actually leaving money on the table because we had quoted it, but I just didn't have a great handle on repeating visits in the calendar as what I do in SortScape, whereas now we just don't miss it. We don't leave any money on the table. If anything, we're getting more. But the time saving in the invoicing, that's where I notice it the most because now it's 3 clicks to do an invoice once it's set up for a repeating customer, whereas if it's not, if it's not integrated with QuickBooks, or if you're not using native invoicing, if you're still using, I've been talking to customers that still use an Excel template to create invoices, and it takes them hours at the end of the day to
Been
generate.
there, done that.
Yeah, well, I didn't ever do that. in my early days, I just texted them the amount with my bank details, and it just landed in the bank.
Yeah.
But that was back in the days when I wasn't earning so much. Nowadays, I couldn't do that. But 3 seconds, 3 clicks, generate an invoice, and I don't have to think about it when I come home.
Yeah. Well, back in the day when I was in IT, I actually learnt how to do mail merge from spreadsheet to a Word document. So you could do that template and automatically send it out.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, these guys are still doing each one manually. They're not using a spreadsheet
Yeah.
correctly.
So
I
I
might have
guess,
mentioned to you that I do online training for Swordscape as
okay.
a side gig because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit of work for the guys. So I get to talk to a lot of people, and it's mostly guys that are coming from paper. I love doing the clients that are coming from another software system to compare,
Yeah.
showing them what Swordscape can do. But
Yeah.
a lot of people coming from pen and paper.
So you'd have a pretty good handle on the savings or the efficiency in the back end. So in terms of people who are doing it old school compared to people who are starting to use a CRM, or particularly with Sortscape, the amount of time that they spend invoicing and updating their schedule and everything outside of being on the job, would that halve the amount of time or even more than half it?
Oh, more than, Gary.
Yeah.
It like, what would it be if you were coming home? I've spoken to people that, obviously have bigger rounds than us. Ours is a small round. But if you've done like 100 jobs for the week and you're doing 100 invoices manually, that's hours of
Yeah.
work that you can save.
Yep.
So you can go from having to spend, 2-3 hours to 3 seconds a job, and you're delivering the invoice at the time of service or at the end of the day,
Yeah.
depending on
So you
how you
actually,
want the invoice. Like if you had a team on the road, they complete the visit. As an employee, they don't get to see the create invoice, but whoever
okay.
does the invoicing at the end of the day, the administrator, there's 3 different levels of
Yep.
access, they then can create the invoice. So
But it's a couple of minutes to go through at the end of the day and send out invoices for a team if you're doing that. Whereas if you're on the job, you send it out yourself as you
yes, yeah, well,
finish the job.
that was one of the things that actually we got a lot of clients because of that, because a lot of the contractors that were doing their work, what customers were telling us was that he would invoice haphazardly.
Yep.
Sometimes it would be monthly, or we might go 2 months without seeing an invoice. And
Yep.
then we get the invoice and we go, did he really come that day? I don't remember him being here. Whereas our customers pretty much know that when they get the invoice, we've just left the site, because I
I'm
pretty much invoice straight away.
I'm glad you said that, because that's a point I was going to raise. So the first efficiency you have is 2 to 3 hours. That's down to 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Time usage to actually do it. And then if you split it up, I guess the only downside is if you're pulling your phone out of your pocket to send an invoice, you might be tempted to look at Facebook and Instagram while you're there.
Yeah, no, I think because I guess I don't, but
Yep.
you could, I
That's
guess. But
that's good. Some people would be.
yeah, I'm looking at the next job. Okay, what height am I going to be setting the mower as I jump out? Because we're so efficient
Yep.
at what we do. So
Yeah.
I'm looking where we're going next.
So the other downsides if you're not using a CRM is exactly what you're touching on there. And I know that from experience. When I've been doing it manually, I'm inclined to send invoices out at the end of the week or the end of the month.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
forgetfulness is a problem.
Yep.
Even if you keep your calendar up to date and you go back through your calendar, you're like, okay, was that a rain day? Did I miss it?
Yeah. Or did I provide an extra service?
Yeah.
Did I do a bit of hedging while I was there? So we've got the repeating visit with the $90 mo, but we might have done a little bit of hedging. So I just add a one-off item to that before I complete the visit so that it's added straight away. Matt's even got really good at this now. He's sort of like, Swordscape's your stuff. I'll charge the batteries. I'll look after the gear. You look after the schedule.
Yeah.
But he's now, even if he's done like a one-off item, it's so easy, he can add it.
Yeah.
And I can then complete the visit. If I'm at home, I can see that the visit's changed from orange to green, meaning it's been completed, and then it'll change to black when I've invoiced it. So I don't miss any invoices either. The system tells me you've got uncompleted visits here or
Yep.
uninvoiced visits.
Yeah, so I guess that's a big improvement because it's not just efficiency for efficiency's sake, it's also not forgetting and less questions from customers about whether you were legitimately there because they
Yeah.
trust that you're invoicing on the day you were there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a trust improvement as well as an efficiency
Straight away. And
improvement.
for our holiday homes, we so quickly can just add a photo to that invoice now. I actually just had a client just this week who lives in Melbourne, and we look after her house, and we're really happy with her grass. She's on
Yeah.
a lawn program now. The lawn is looking fantastic.
Yeah.
Matt quickly took 3 photos of the different areas, added it to Sortscape. So I was doing the invoicing at home that particular day, and
Yeah.
I could see that the photos were there. So I just easily just do actually, I think there's a new feature now that you can select all to add all the
Yeah.
photos to the invoice, hit create. She then replied saying, wow, the grass looks fantastic. So it's such added value. I mean, for $15 a month for one user, it's a no-brainer to implement it.
Yeah. I guess the other efficiency that I think would be relevant, and you're a user, you tell me, I don't use it,
Yeah.
but when it comes to scheduling, if you're using a calendar app on your phone or a paper diary and you're using that for scheduling, it's hit and miss as to how long your schedule is for the day, whether you're going to end up stuck on a job longer or whether you've got anything unforeseen on there. When you're using Sortscape,
Yeah.
you would be able to predict based on past usage of it how long you expect to be on each job. So you can then go, okay, so you say 5 hours a day?
Yeah, we do 5 hours. We'll be up there for 5 hours.
So between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., you can look at that and go, yeah, that's how many jobs I can fit in that time space. And Sortscape will automatically work that out based on how long a job is predicted to take because it's recording how long it takes, but also because it will factor in if you've got one person or 2 people or 3
Yes.
people on the job as
Yeah.
well.
I know if I've scheduled more than 6 hours, and like I don't usually help Matt on a Tuesday and a Thursday, I will normally be either doing Sortscape or doing something else. But if I do schedule more than 6 hours, I then pop myself in as an employee on that run, and it's instantly 3 hours per person. So we can knock it off in,
Yep.
hopefully less than half the time. That's one of the feature requests that they have, that it's obviously not as efficient as a one person as to a two.
Yeah,
So they're
sure.
looking at implementing your own personal percentage of how much more efficient you are with 2 people. But basically, if it's an 8-hour day for one person, which is important information to add into Sortscape, estimated man hours per visit. If we put 2 people on that, it'll be 4 hours per person. If we put a third person on that run, then it'll divide the 8 hours by 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
okay.
so easy. Like I found the difference with when I went from the calendar, I wasn't using the repeating visits. I kept getting all in a kerfuddle when I used repeating visits on the calendar because of the
Yeah.
rain. If I wanted to drag and drop a job, or it just didn't work as well as what I wanted it to work. So I usually, when I was using a calendar, would do single visit and then I would add all the fortnightly visits. Whereas with Sortscape, I drag a job to tomorrow if it's going to rain,
Yep.
and it asks me, do you want to change it for the rest of all those jobs in like in a fortnight's time? No, I don't, because it's a Tuesday run job. I don't want to do it in the future on a Wednesday. So it's very flexible, a lot more flexible than the calendar.
Yeah. I still have memories of that. It's a long time since I've needed to go through the calendar and do it, but memories of going, okay, let's set this item in the calendar to schedule, repeat every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. Don't do 3-week repeats, please, anyone.
Don't do it. Don't. It's 1, 2, or 4.
Yeah. At 3-week repeats are not customers. They are a pain in the.
They just wreck you end up with a lopsided week. No, don't. I learnt that lesson very early on, that I don't offer 3 weekly.
But that little side note, the real pain that I was talking about there is trying to schedule in a calendar with those repeats. And then you move one and it's like, are you moving only the following events future, or are you moving historically as well? And some calendars can handle it, some can't.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. And I can move a whole job run now as well. So if we get, like, obviously we've got the cyclone hanging off the coast at the moment, Cyclone Alfred. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to start raining from tomorrow, hence why Matt's out
Yep.
mowing today to start on tomorrow's schedule.
Yeah.
But we'll have to move the job run, so we can just move a whole job run, like Thursday's jobs, because we work Sunday to, like, we don't work Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
We will probably end up having to do Sunday's jobs. We'll have to shift that.
Yep.
But yeah, move the whole job run, and it's not having to do each individual job.
That's got to be a time saving.
Huge.
Yeah.
But I guess we're earning, like, we're servicing 50 clients now. So when I was, first starting out and I only earned 25,000 for the year, my little Google Calendar and my spreadsheet and, doing it all was fine. But as soon as I
Yes.
started earning real money,
Yep.
and seeing that this is a real business and I can really actually create a job for myself and be secure in it,
Yep.
then you need tools to become more efficient. It's no longer a hobby.
And I guess that's where a lot of people will balk at being in business, because it's one thing to go, I can do a few jobs on Sunday for beer money, or I can do a few jobs after work each day. But to get from doing pocket money through to calling it a legit business, what we were talking about at the start of the interview is that was something that took 2 or 3 years to build up to the point where it's where you want it to be. Some people will hit it out of the park and just go first season, smash it, and go, yeah, I'm doing awesome. But a lot of people will have that growing pain. And it's, I guess, if, like you say, if you're doing 10 customers total, then you probably don't want to spend the money on Sortscape. But if
10,
you're
10 in a day, you mean?
What? No, if you've only got 10 customers
Oh,
in
you've only
total.
got 10 clients that you're looking after.
Yeah.
I
But
would, even still, with 10 clients, it's only $15 a month for one user. So
yeah,
it looks a lot more professional. You've still got to invoice that client.
Yeah.
It's not, it looks more professional. But you're right, for 10 clients, I looked unprofessional.
And that's the way a lot of people will be. It's like, okay, if I've got 10 clients, I don't want to have another expense.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where you've got to have that vision of going, well, what am I aiming for rather than what am I trying to protect myself against?
Yeah. Like, I just see it as it's not a lot of money. Obviously, that's the base package. The next one up is like Matt and I are 2 users, so up to 5 users, $59 a month.
Yeah.
But I still think it's money well spent to look professional, to provide professional invoices, to
I talked to Katie from Profit First for Tradies.
Oh, I love Profit First. We do Profit First.
Yeah, awesome. And
there's another rabbit hole, Gary.
well, let's take a quick look at that. But the reason I'm raising it is because when you look at a accounting system like Profit First,
yeah,
then you can start looking at expenses like this and putting them into practice and going, okay, if I know what my expenses are, then I can work out how much I need to charge in order to actually run a viable business. And, for some people, that might be a case of shutting their doors and going, I'm done with this. For other people, it's simply a case of going, all right, I'm offering the customer something valuable. How much is it worth? Add all the expenses up, add in wages, add in profit. What am I making?
That's it.
How much do I charge to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, that was such a game changer for me when I read Profit First, because I had a separate account. So all the income that I was earning was going into an account. But the question that I was looking for on the Facebook pages and that is, what do I pay myself? Like, I don't know how to do all of this. I haven't done a business qualification. I don't know. So after reading Profit First, it was just like, great. Okay. The percentages for the level of business that we're in, 50% went to owner's compensation. So that was my pay. 30% went to my operating expenses account. So if there wasn't money in there, I couldn't buy a new mower. 15% went to tax and 5% went to profit. And obviously you can tweak those percentages slightly to yourself. Like, you don't have to jump to the 5%. Your goal might be next time to go to 10%. But it's just made such a difference for us to have all those accounts set up, and I just once a week transfer those percentages into the other accounts, and if there's not enough money in the expenses, we aren't buying equipment. It's
Well,
Great.
I've looked at it and made it fairly granular, but even now in my business 15 years in, I'm starting to look over it again and go, oh, I think I need to tweak some things.
But you're following it though, like you're following the percentages and you're transferring the money into the accounts.
I don't have quite as many accounts as you, but I'm starting to look at it going, I need to have more accounts because of the complexity of my business. So I need to be able to pay employee super and tax and
Yeah,
various different things like that. And it's okay to put all of the taxes into one account, but it's not okay to go all of my expenses in one account.
right.
And that's critical when you're running a complex business because
Yeah.
if I want to buy,
A
and
stand-
I need to spend probably off the top of my head, I need to spend about $15,000 to $20,000 at the moment.
right.
And I'm going, well, where's that money coming from? I've been putting aside money for those capital
Those
items
Yeah,
expenses, but the need to actually break it down and go, okay, I can't just have the same account that I draw fuel and insurance and things like
right.
that out of as the one that I draw out bigger expenses.
Yeah,
So, that and then wages as well.
yeah,
Because if you
yeah,
have wages coming out of the same bucket as your fuel and your insurance, it's hard to predict.
yeah, yeah. No, but for anyone starting out like I'm pleased I read that early on. And I think again, I think that recommendation came from Conrad on LMCA. I'm pretty sure a lot of his advice was great advice. And I think
Yeah.
his wife is an accountant as well. So,
Yes. Yep.
profit first has just been great for us. And it's really helped us separate what money we can spend on groceries, mortgage, whatever. It's
Yep.
50%. So,
Yep.
of that $90, we're only getting $45 of
Yeah.
that to cover our home expenses.
Yep. That's it.
Yep. Yep. Great book.
And that's a pretty good number, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, we're comfortable. We're paying our bills. We're not
Yep.
driving flash cars. I've got my 20-year-old Jeep with the roof off. It's a lifestyle, Gary.
And that's it ticks the box. You can go, yep, that's where I want to be.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
We own it. We're going to, and we'll probably be. I mean, Matt will definitely be mowing beyond retirement. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
struggling, and that's hence why I was looking for something else to do when I was looking to work for Sortscape. It's been such a hot summer this summer that it has just killed me, and I thought I would work part-time and do some work from home, but
Yeah.
I'm finding that when I cut it right back, I think I was just helping Matt 1 or 2 days a week. I wasn't mow fit. It was actually worse. I went backwards. So I
Yeah.
had to I think I do 3 days now, and that's good. Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday are the days that I do help Matt mow,
Yep.
and then he'll do Tuesday, Thursdays by himself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still fit enough to mow where I'm not, at the end of the shift, I can't walk.
Yeah.
I can, it's a nice balance now.
No, once you take up windsurfing again, you'll
I'm losing weight. I can't believe I'm not losing weight mowing. I'm doing 20,000, 25,000 steps, and but it's sugar.
This is one of the reasons I use a ride-on mower.
I used to say to myself back when I was using the push mower, no, it's better for me. I don't need self-propel, but oh my God, that's like I'd never go back to a push mower ever again. If the self-propel stops working, that's it. I'm not mowing.
I've done that years ago. I went from a self-propelled Honda push mower, so self-propelled, to a push only. I'd used it for a good 6 months before I was like, I want
Really?
self-propelled back. But I don't even do that much work with a push mower. My majority of my work has been always with the ride-on,
Yeah, yeah.
and it still bugged me.
I mean, that's it. You create the business of the work that you want to do. So, if you're going to be using a stander, you're taking on those clients that their property can accommodate that. So we're quite happy doing what we're doing. I mean, we looked at it, but we've got lots of little postage stamps in Noosa Waters that we look after that. A standard just wouldn't suit, and we're happy doing what we're doing. We don't have any petrol. We don't have any servicing. All we do is, at the end of the day, Matt brings in the batteries, stick them on charge. We've got the solar running on the roof. We're home at lunchtime, so the solar's running, charge the batteries,
Yep.
take them back out to the van tomorrow morning, and away we go.
So how many batteries do you run?
Good question. When I first started, obviously I didn't have that many, so I used to carry my charger with me,
Yep.
and I might plug into a client's PowerPoint and charge.
Yep.
But we took advantage of all the promos, and Ego just runs so many promos with battery
Yes.
redemption and whatnot. So we've now probably got 25 batteries, and
Wow.
we've got a big camping drawer in the bottom of the van.
Yep.
But we've only got that many because we've now got the commercial mower, and that mower takes 2 batteries.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 12s. I think we've got 4 10s. We're not charging. I mean, now that we've got the commercial with those 2 batteries, I reckon I probably only have to change the batteries once, if that. So would only go through one set of batteries for the mower.
Yeah.
I'd put
Okay.
another set in, and they'd stay in because we obviously try and flatten them before we charge them again.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they've got limited cycles. But I mean, what has Matt brought in today? I've got a charging cupboard where the batteries go on charge, and it would be less than 10. Definitely
okay.
less than 10 because of the size of the big 12s. So we use the 7.5s on the blower, the 2.5s on the hedges.
Yeah.
I like the 5 now on my whip. It's a bit more balanced.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
2.5 being a little bit lighter.
Which whip do you use?
I actually use a resi whip. Matt uses the commercial whip.
Yeah.
I actually like the IQ self-feed head, so it's not a bump. It just comes out automatically.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know the number.
Is it a little bit lighter than the STX 4500?
You have to ask Matt that question. That's a Matt question. He's very particular about the equipment. He knows all the specs on it.
Yeah. Well, the commercial whip is the STX 4500. I've found it a little on the heavy side compared to other commercial whips that I've used.
Right. See, we haven't used anything else other than Ego. So we've got nothing to compare it to.
Yep.
And he's definitely trialled a few different whips, and he likes this one now. Like, he's loving all the new commercial gear that's coming out. Like he got one of the first commercial hedges, but it was quite heavy. But the latest stuff now is much lighter, a lot more balanced.
Yep.
But my little resi whip, I love it because it only takes 2.4 mil line, and it just does a really nice job, whereas his whip has to have the 2.7 in it.
Yeah.
It's great. He loves it. But if I have to use his whip, it's a whole new learning curve again to use his. I end up damaging it a bit, whereas my little light 2.4, I don't have to bump feed it. It's easy for me to refill it. Great little whip. But I don't do the whip. Matt does. Like, we have a system. We know how to stay out of each other's way. He does the majority of the whip. I will do the mowing. We both kind of do the blowing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So couple of things that you've mentioned there. I want to touch on one of them. You mentioned getting the full charge cycle out of the battery.
Yes.
That is not actually necessary. So
right. So we can.
Yeah, with a lithium battery.
Right.
It counts one charge cycle as the amount of power that you've used, but you can charge in between. It's not going to reset the charge cycle.
The way we work, they just stay in the mower till they're flat.
Yeah. So older, like NiCad batteries, you had to fully discharge them, otherwise they'd get a memory.
I was sure at one of the Ego demo days when I spoke to one of the reps, I was sure he said to me that if they're half flat at the end of the day, he wouldn't pull them out of the mower and charge them because that will count as a cycle.
Yeah, it's not true.
Incorrect?
It's not true.
Right.
So it's the same as your iPhone or your Android phone or laptop. Like, you can put it straight on charge anytime. And if you've looked at
cycle, so to speak, not a full cycle.
Yeah. And if you've ever looked at buying an EV, then they say the same thing with the EV. You're best off keeping the battery between 20% and 80%. So never fully flattened and never fully charged is where the battery will be optimal and get the most amount of cycles out of it. So if you fully charge it and then you store it, it's actually not as good as if it's at 80% and stored. So if you charge something overnight and you're not needing the full power out of it, then storing it at 80% is a better idea than fully charged.
Right. I mean, Matt has a tendency to pull them out. Like he'll say to me, how many lights are left on that? And I'll go 2, and he goes, pull it out, we're charging it. And I go, oh, okay. But he charges it. So he's
it's
the
fine.
one that looks after the equipment. He'll,
it's fine. It's not damaging it. It's actually better.
Better for it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if you run it down below 20%, it's working the battery harder than if you keep it between that 80 and 20.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still use the full range on my batteries.
Yep.
But if it's half and I'm gone back to the charge station, I swap it out and put the next one in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's better for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. I did know that because they've got 2 different chargers, I think one of the guys said that the slow charger is better for the battery than these rapid chargers.
Yes.
But we just use rapid chargers all the time now. It's just so much quicker because we've got 7 chargers set up, 4 in one area, 3 in another. So, we might fill 7, I guess probably 7 batteries so we can charge them all at once.
Yeah.
And in half hour, they're kind of done.
So ultimately, the slower you charge the battery, the better it is, right?
Yeah.
But another rule of thumb that you can use there is 1 hour per battery. So if your battery is charging quicker than 1 hour, it's running the risk of damaging the lithium, the chemistry.
Yeah.
If it's charging at 1 hour, then it's not really doing any damage to it. If it's charging slower than 1 hour, it's still better for it. But if you have a look at the chargers that you get, you'll find that the chargers usually correlate with the size of the battery to aim for a 1 hour charge. So the charger that came with your 5 amp batteries will charge them in about 1 hour. The charger that came with your 10 amp batteries will charge them in about 1 hour. But if you chuck your 5 amp batteries on the bigger charger, it'll charge in half an hour.
Right. And it's not good for it.
As a once off here and there, it's not a major issue.
Right. But all ours go on. We've got all rapid chargers now, and even our 2.5s go on the rapids.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't stress about it. It's more a case of going, okay, the slower the charge, the better the chemistry of the battery will handle it and longer life of the battery.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's an interesting
we've got plenty of batteries. Like we're all like we've got the Nexus. We've got 2 Nexus units, which is the unit that goes on top of a battery, like connects it, and it's got like you can plug in a USB or a 240 volt. So we're going to have plenty of power if we run out of power. Like all the batteries are ready charged for the cyclone. So
awesome.
We've got Ego Light. We've got everything Ego. So
I noticed you've got the pressure washer, or was that a demo?
Yep. No, we've got the pressure washer as well. So
how do you find the pressure washer? Because I haven't seen any people reviewing that yet.
Okay, great. Matt washes the van, weekly, so it's great for washing the van.
Yep.
We used to offer pressure washing. We obviously no longer do. So we had a big petrol unit. So it's nothing like that. We would not offer pressure cleaning services with that pressure washer.
Yeah.
But for washing the car, it's fantastic.
That's what I thought. So it's great for washing a motorbike or a car or your lawnmower or whatever, but not. It's not going to do a driveway or a roof in a hurry.
No, we actually just today we had a text message from one of our commercial properties, got some pebblecrete, and it's really bad. And he asked us if we could clean that up, and we will, but we'll use bleach first or something like that to really get through it. But it'll be the perfect little pressure washer just to do this little pebblecrete pathway. We don't need a big pan to clean it.
If you get the chance, if you jump onto YouTube or Instagram and look up people that do what they call soft washing, that is essentially what you're talking about, where they use a chemical and then the pressure washer is just to wash the chemical off quicker than it would with just a base hose. Yeah. Yeah. And that a lot of cleaning is better done with soft washing rather than high pressure washing.
Which I guess with pebblecrete especially, like you kind of want to get rid of all the black slime. Like the more you pressure wash with really high pressure, you're just making those pebbles stand out even prouder, aren't you?
You're potentially taking a number of pebbles out when you do it too. I don't know if you've noticed that when you use the petrol pressure washer on the pebblecrete, it does remove pebbles.
So no, we'll just do a gentle, like you say, a soft wash, use the bleach, wash it off and just get it looking, so it's looking nice but not dangerous. And Yeah, so no, we love the pressure washer.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And that's where I expected it to fall, was it's great for washing cars and bikes and boats and things.
Yeah. And little pathways like this will be perfect for that. And
Yep.
yeah, not having to plug in anywhere. Not that we've ever had a PowerPoint pressure washer. Our only other pressure washer was petrol, but
Yeah.
we still have one Scott Bonner, so we do still have a petrol mower, but we don't use that routinely. So we
Fair.
have nothing petrol. So if we have to take this little battery pressure washer over to that job, we've got all the batteries ready to go for it. So it's a
Fair
handy
enough.
bit of tool.
So the only ego tool you probably don't have is the little mini bike.
No, we don't have the mini bike because we're not into, we're into windsurfing and
Such a
mountain
shame.
You would have you seen it?
I haven't seen one in person, no. So I've obviously seen it online, but yeah, it looks like a good fun toy.
Yeah, that's it. A toy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I have a Polaris buggy, side-by-side buggy for getting around on commercial sites. And
Yeah, great.
a little ego motorbike would not be allowed.
And you can't carry any gear with it.
No.
It's yeah.
So you could claim it as a work expense, but no, not really.
Stretching it a little bit there.
Look, I think I could probably find a way.
Doing those wide edges.
Yeah.
Get the back tyre in there.
It's promoting the podcast. No, I'm not buying one. So I've got other motorbikes.
Yes. You don't need the little battery ego.
No, not at all.
No.
Well, Kyla, it's been great spending some time with you, learning about your business. Really appreciate your time.
No, thanks, Gary. It's been great to reminisce.
Yeah. And, we've learned some interesting things about your business. We've learned a little bit about Sortscape. I'm going to have to do a bit of a deeper dive into Sortscape over the next little while. But,
yeah, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah. See if I can get the creators of Sortscape to answer the phone. I might even get them on.
Yeah, Bill and Chris. Best way to contact them is through the website and that little chat bot in the bottom right-hand corner. They monitor that, so contact them through that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll hit the chat bot up for a chat.
Yeah. It's been great talking with you, Gary, and thanks so much. And I reckon I could probably dob in a couple of other females for you as well.
Do that.
Yeah.
Do that for sure.
Yeah.
I need to try and get that number up above 3%.
Okay, let's see what we can do because there's a lot of us out there. Like I think of M. Have you seen M's sign writing on her van on LMCA?
Yes. I'm just trying to think. Is she in WA?
Oh no, where is she? No, I don't think she's WA, but she's Ego as well.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, she uses Ego gear, so I see her. Renee. I know that they have bought some Ego gear just recently. I saw them using the Hedger, the new commercial Hedger. Luke's wife, Kerry, she's in Women in Mowing as well. She looks after the admin. So there's a few females there.
Yeah. Well, I am keen to get more.
Great.
I know that I've talked about getting Em in for an interview, but I haven't actually chased that.
Oh,
So that's one I might have to chase. But
because she works by herself.
Yeah.
So she hasn't got the husband or the muscle man there with her. So she does everything by herself. So I've seen actually her doing a video, I think, of unloading and loading her mower.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I've got a few to chase.
You have. We'll keep you busy.
I've got enough to keep me busy at the moment, but yes.
Excellent, Gary.
No worries. Cool. Well, thanks for your time.
No problems. Nice talking to you.
You too.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.